Sixth graders, in preparation for our upcoming sculpture project, I would like to spend a few minutes giving you some more extensive background information about sculpture than we have discussed in the past. And this is going to give you a broader understanding and context as you move forward with designing your own project. So the first question that I'd like to consider is, what is sculpture and how is sculpture different than other types of art? You'll see in this video that we're going to be looking at a number of sculptures created by an artist, Henry Moore, and so I'll refer to those occasionally as we go through. So first of all, sculpture is 3D. It has a height, it has a width, but it also has a depth. Sculpture occupies space, and this is one way it is different from other kinds of art. Sculpture in the round. So this is one type of sculpture, one category. And to look at a famous piece, we're going to reference here Michelangelo's The Pieta. And this is really a stunning sculpture created to depict the moment or the time after Jesus was crucified and then his body was returned to his mother and his followers. And so Michelangelo just does this amazing job of capturing just a realistic feel to the fabric and to, of course, the body of Jesus and Mary. Now, this is also what's considered a sculpture in the round. And that is sometimes called freestanding sculpture. This type of artwork, you can walk around it. You could turn it over in your hands if it's a smaller sculpture, and it's designed to be seen all the way around. This type of sculpture can be realistic, as you see with the Pieta, or it could be an abstract form as well. The second type of sculpture category is a relief sculpture. Now you can see a different portrayal of Mary and Jesus. This one was sculpted out of marble by another Renaissance artist, Donatello. But you'll notice that this is fundamentally different than the other sculpture. That is because this type of sculpture projects into space from a flat background. It is designed to be viewed from only one side rather than something that you could walk all the way around. Let's talk about some different sculpting techniques. And I'd like you to consider these as you think through your upcoming project, and then, of course, as you actually sculpt your project. The first technique is called modeling. The second is carving. The third is casting. And the fourth is called assembling. So let's take a look at what each of these sculpting techniques are. You'll notice these include both additive and subtractive methods. Now, if you just look at the words additive and subtractive, I anticipate you could figure out this meaning. Additive means kinds of sculptures where you add materials together, and subtractive would mean that you're taking away material from a larger solid. So to begin, you'll see here an example of modeling. Now, this is probably the most common type of sculpture. In this method, a soft, workable material is built up and shaped. So that would include like clay and what we typically do in our sculpture process. So you can see here Henry Morrigan, he's gradually adding more material to build a form. In this case, he's creating a model for a larger sculpture titled The Reclining Mother and Child. Other examples of modeling materials that could be used in the same way could include clay, plaster, and paper mache. And just note, this is an additive method. The second type of sculpture technique featured here is called carving. In this method, the sculptor cuts, chips, or drills from a solid mass of material to create a sculpture. You can see here these big pieces of stone. When we looked at the Pieta sculpture from before, that was clearly also sculpted from a larger piece of marble. The artist continually removes material from the sculpture until it's completed. Examples of materials used for carving could be wood and stone, and please note that this would be a subtractive method. The third method is called casting. In this method, molten metal or another substance is poured into a mold and allowed to harden. To make the mold, the artist duplicates a form originally molded with clay, wax, or plaster. Once the addition is complete, the mold is destroyed. So here we've got an example of the finished piece, Reclining Mother and Child. Clearly cast out of metal, and oftentimes you see these in public or outdoor spaces that are exposed to weather. This is the same method that the Statue of Liberty was created with, a very large mold that then was poured into in different pieces, and then those pieces were attached to give a unified surface. And then, of course, that stands in New York. So the reference here to the addition, that would mean that you could make, kind of like printmaking, you could pour and re-pour metal into a mold multiple times if you wanted to create a number of the same pieces, and then eventually you could eliminate that mold so that it couldn't be replicated. The last type of sculpture technique is called assembling, and you can see a really dramatic looking piece here. This is called Lady of the Landfill, and clearly it's making an environmental message. But you can see that it's composed of different pieces of recycled materials and assembled together. This could also be referred to as constructing. The artist is joining a number of different materials to make a sculpture. It could be welded, glued, sewn, or some other way of fitting the pieces together.